Welcome to the first Ethos console review. My name is Kurt, and today we're going to discuss the Super Nintendo. Now, this was released back in 1991, back in September of 1991, and this was the first Nintendo's first 16-bit console system. And it followed up the good old NES, which was released in 1985, but we'll get to that another time. Now here, Super Nintendo, known as the SNES for short, has a typical cartridge slot as a top loader this time, much more efficient in design than the pin connector of the NES, which was prone to breakage. This one has been strong for a long time. I've had this system now since 1995, and I bought it used actually back in '95. I got it from a neighbor down the street from me, and who knows how long they had it. They could have had it since 1991. So this system is at least anywhere from 15 to 19 years old now, and it still works today. It still works pretty well, fairly well. I mean, it's seen its fair share of damage. As you see this little crack right over here, and player 2 port is cracked also, but it still works. Both controller slots do. But this is a 16-bit console, as you saw. They saw the top loader here. The power, the reset button. There's also an eject button for the cartridge when it goes in there, and it plugs in the same old way as the NES would. It has this is for the AC adapter, the big block AC adapter, and this is for the RF switch, which goes into the back. Let's take a quick look at the back of the system here. And it has it has a multi-out right over here, which I don't quite understand. I mean, that's the same sort of thing on the Nintendo 64, where you could plug audio video cables in it. But I remember doing it for this system once, and it didn't actually work, so I can't really comment on that. But there's also a channel. You can change the channel, 3 or 4, and there's the 2 slots there. So, another thing about this system. Now, before we go talk about the games and whatnot for it, and all its other facets, I wonder if you can notice on the camera here that there's a color difference. You see, the top is more of a gray color, and the bottom is kind of yellow. Why does it do that? I don't understand that. Why is it yellow like that? I noticed a lot of systems do that. You can look at it maybe even more starkly on the bottom. This clip here is like gray, and the rest of it's all this disgusting yellow color. Well, I learned that from a vintage game store owner that there's some sort of like yellowing process with the plastics. The plastics were made by 2 different companies or something, and the top portion was made by one company, and the bottom portion was made by another company altogether, which apparently the quality of the plastic was less, and once exposed to air would turn a yellowish tint, and which it certainly has pretty significantly. And yes, that was rather nerdy, I'm sure, to admit, but that's what happens. If you ever wonder if your old Super Nintendo or any other Super Nintendo that happens, that's why. But the Super Nintendo controller, let's take a look at that. Much more dynamic than the original 8-bit controller, which I have here. As you see, the 8-bit controller, just the minimal amount of buttons here, 4 here, and then the control pad, and that was it. Good old rectangular controller, sturdy, good and true for all these years, but not certainly as dynamic as the 16-bit controller. It had 4 buttons here, a Y and an X that were added, see, and the start and select, the control pad, we know that, but then there was also 2 shoulder buttons, the L and the R, and some, made for a lot more interesting gameplay, and certainly a lot more variety as well. And this was a terrific controller. Pretty much it's Nintendo quality. This stuff is going to last for a very long time. And it has never had a problem with these old. This is the original controller I bought it with, and it still works to this day. No problems. No buttons got jammed. No nothing. It's a terrific system. It's very well put together. I mean, despite the yellowing and the cracks that I have, this system is very well put together and has some terrific games for it, and we'll get to those shortly. But the Super Nintendo, definitely one of the legendary systems, a system that I've always considered that has had the most potential out of all of them. I mean, you look at all these other systems here that I have personally, and the NES, obviously a legend unto its own, and the N64 and PlayStations and whatnot, but there's something about the Super Nintendo I felt that really had the most wholesome quality to it, and may not be my personal favorite system. My personal favorite is the old NES for sentimental value, but the Super Nintendo has so much potential, and for the most part, definitely carried out. Had a lot of terrific games. So we'll talk about those games. Why don't we even take a look at them? And here's Super Mario World. Now, this was released back in 1991 with the system. It was packaged in with the console, and this was previously reviewed on Ethos by my friend RB. Full written review on the website. And this is definitely one of the great Super Nintendo games. Totally utilizes the 16-bit graphics perfectly. It's an instant classic, for sure. Now, this is one of the great games made for this system. Really a treat, and show the power of the 16 bits, that it can store so many games on one. Super Mario All-Stars. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I got this game back in the day. Look, it has so many different games on it. Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario 1 also. And then the Mario Lost Levels, which is actually Mario 2 in Japan. And down the line we'll review Mario 2 and tell you all about it. But of course I'm going to give you a little quick preview here of Mario 3. Definitely my favorite game of all time. I reviewed it on Ethos as well. Full written review there. As you can see, this game looks fantastic on Super Nintendo. Looks far better here than it did in the NES. I know I've only showed you mostly Mario games, but here's one of the greatest non-Mario games to ever hit the Super Nintendo, and arguably one of the greatest ones on the system. This is Super Castlevania 4. This game is awesome, and I did review it also on Ethos Reviews, if you wanted to take a look. I mean, just see the game for yourself, if you can get it sometime. This is really one of the great video games ever made, and some really awesome music. So yet another Mario game, I know, but those were really always the best for every Nintendo system, weren't they? So here's Yoshi's Island, made in 1995. Really took advantage of the Mode 7 graphics that were really famous for the system. This is definitely another one of the really awesome games for the Super Nintendo. I mean, the Super Nintendo had just a litany of just fantastically well-made games. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And this is another perfect example. You control Yoshi in this one, and you can see the very cartoony graphics. It shows really impressive graphical power. This is another classic. Okay, this video is definitely getting way out of hand, so let's stop it right now. Okay, so this video review got a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, so I had to show you some games, and only touched on a few of the really great ones. Definitely a lot more than this out there, and a couple more that I have, of course, like Mario Kart or Kirby Superstar or Final Fantasy III. Those are all classics as well. And you know, sure, every system has its share of bombs, which I didn't show you, but well, you know, you'll see them on Ethos Reviews. More written reviews to be coming out, I'm sure. But this system was made until around 1996, and it was a major success, only to be followed by the Nintendo 64. So thanks for watching the first system review and the second of Ethos video reviews. Thanks again for watching. Take care.